What's up, guys? It's Kayla.
And Jim.
Welcome back to another Meteorology Monday. What are we talking about today?
Today we are going to talk about the October 2024 Hurricane Milton tornado outbreak. We did a case study on Hurricane Milton, but this video is going to be specific to the tornado outbreak from that event. There was 6 deaths, $681 million in damage across Central and South Florida, as well as other tornadic statistics associated with hurricanes that set records. We're going to get into all of that, but before we get started,
if you find that you are enjoying this case study along the way, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below so you never miss the next Meteorology Monday. Also, if you missed the announcement, we now have Meteotech Weather merch. It is the top link in the description box. Check it out right now, meteotechweather.com. Now let's get into the meteorological setup for the event.
In the overnight hours of Monday, October 7th and Tuesday, October 8th, National Weather Service offices across the Florida peninsula were issuing statements about the approach of Hurricane Milton. Their statements would include the potential for a few tornadoes across their county warning areas. The weather conditions were forecast to deteriorate during the day on Wednesday, October 9th, and linger into Thursday, October 10th. However, weather forecasters as well as residents and visitors of Florida weren't expecting a record-breaking tornado outbreak that was about to unfold. The area forecast discussion issued by the Tampa Weather Service office at 3:52 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, October 8th indicated Milton continues to pose a potentially catastrophic threat to parts of the Florida west coast. Hurricane Milton continues moving east across the southern Gulf of Mexico as a very powerful and dangerous major hurricane. The area forecast discussion, issued by the Melbourne Weather Service office at 4:05 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, October 8th, indicated Major Hurricane Milton will continue to move eastward across the southern Gulf of Mexico and at some point begin to take on a more northeasterly track toward the Florida west coast. We will also need to be wary of increasing tornado potential as low-level wind shear becomes increasingly conducive for rotation potential, especially later in the day and evening on Wednesday. The area forecast discussion issued by the Miami Weather Service office at 4:44 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, October 8th indicated, as Milton progresses eastward towards South Florida, the first outer bands will reach the southwest Florida coast beginning late Tuesday evening. A few isolated tornadoes will be possible within these rain bands as they spiral across the area from west to east through early Thursday morning. Later that afternoon, the first tornado warning of this tropical event took place, many hours before the main core of the storm rolled in. At 2:32 p.m. Eastern Time, the Tampa Weather Service office issued its area forecast discussion indicating Major Hurricane Milton is still a strong Cat 4 hurricane with winds up to 155 miles per hour. Milton will grow in size as it heads toward the west coast of Florida as a disastrous hurricane. Milton is still expected to be a major Cat 3 hurricane at landfall, with destructive damage expected late Wednesday into early Thursday morning. Bottom line, if Milton stays on its course, this will be the most powerful hurricane to hit Tampa Bay in over 100 years. No one in the area has ever experienced a hurricane this strong before. The area forecast discussion issued by the Melbourne Weather Service office at 5:48 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, October 8th, indicating the tornado potential just like they did in a previous area forecast discussion, but they also added this threat may materialize as early as Wednesday morning. The Storm Prediction Center issued mesoscale discussion 2133 at 7:23 p.m. Central Daylight Time on Tuesday, October 8th, indicating supercell development posing risk for waterspouts and tornadoes is possible offshore of southwestern Florida coastal areas and north of the lower Keys much of tonight. It appears that this may not spread into coastal areas and inland until closer to or beyond daybreak. However, trends are being closely monitored.
6 hours later, at 11:31 p.m. Central Daylight Time, The Storm Prediction Center issued Mesoscale Discussion 2134 for the next couple of hours, indicating a couple of supercells may approach the extreme southern tip of the Florida Peninsula over the next couple of hours, perhaps accompanied by a tornado threat. The severe threat should remain very localized, and a tornado watch issuance does not currently appear imminent. However, a tornado watch issuance will become more probable in the morning hours as the more favorable environment gradually expands and shifts northward. As Hurricane Milton moved towards Florida on October 9, 2024, the atmosphere would transform into an environment conducive for a large tornadic outbreak as low-level wind shear out ahead of the core circulation enhanced rapid rotation with any thunderstorm cells that developed. During the early morning hours of October 9, 2024, the first tornado warnings associated with Hurricane Milton began to appear across South Florida. The outbreak started just after 3 a.m.
Segment 1, 3 to 5 a.m.
Within just 2 hours, 4 separate tornado warnings had already been issued across Collier and the Miami-Dade counties. This is just the precursor for what was to come later that day.
Segment 2, 7 to 9 a.m.
By sunrise, the scope of Hurricane Milton's tornado outbreak was becoming clear. The first light of day revealed churning skies over southern Florida, with low, fast-moving clouds sweeping over open wetlands and farmland. Radar signatures multiplied as the storm's outer band strengthened.
Segment 3, 9 to 11 a.m.
By mid-morning, the tornado threat began shifting northward, out of the southern Everglades and toward South Florida's urban corridors. Cell phone alerts echoed through the neighborhoods as rotating storms moved rapidly out of the swamps and into developed areas.
Segment 4, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Late in the morning, Hurricane Milton's outer rain bands accelerated inland from both coasts. The Doppler radar displays across Florida lit up with bright red and green signature couplets, the hallmark sign of strong rotation. It was the start of the height of the outbreak. The warnings continued to be issued in rapid succession as cell after cell would either form or move into areas that required a new warning.
Segment 5, 1 to 3 p.m.
By early afternoon, Hurricane Milton's tornado outbreak was stretching across the heart of Florida. Rain bands that had begun in the Everglades were now racing north towards the central lakes and agricultural towns. Radar showed many rotating storms at once moving across the peninsula.
Segment 6, 3 to 5 p.m.
By mid-afternoon, Hurricane Milton was weakening over land, but its spiral bands were still filled with intense energy. New tornado warnings spread across the central counties as the circulation lifted north towards the Space Coast. The atmosphere would continue to crank out rotating storm after rotating storm at a record pace.
Segment 7, 5 to 7 p.m.
By late afternoon, the core of Milton was continuing to move east-northeast over central Florida. New tornado warnings were concentrated over the east central counties. Even as daylight faded, the atmosphere continued to generate rotating storms. As daylight faded on October 9th, 2024, Hurricane Milton's rain bands finally began to lose their strength. Radar scans that had been filled with rotation throughout the morning and afternoon now showed scattered showers and lingering squalls. The once ferocious outbreak was waning.
Closing segment, after 7 p.m.
Emergency managers across Florida started gathering reports. From Collier County to Brevard County, damage surveys revealed uprooted trees, peeled roofs, and overturned mobile homes. Power crews were working through the evening to restore electricity to thousands left in the dark. Although most of Milton's tornadoes were brief and rain-wrapped, the sheer number of warnings told the story of a dynamic, widespread outbreak. More than 24 separate circulations were tracked in just half a day, a rare scale of tornadic activity for the state. By nightfall, the National Weather Service had lifted the final warnings. Bands of light rain still spiraled around Milton's weakening center as it drifted north across the peninsula. For forecasters, residents, and visitors alike, the day had been a vivid reminder that in hurricanes, danger can arrive not only from surge and wind, but also from tornadoes within rain bands. October 9, 2024 will be a day for the record books that many people will remember for years to come.
In total, there were 126 tornado warnings issued between the Miami, Tampa Bay, and Melbourne National Weather Service offices. National Weather Service Miami and Tampa Bay both issued a record number of tornado warnings in one day. There were 45 tornadoes total during the core of the outbreak. 7 were rated EF0, 25 were rated EF1, 6 were rated EF2, and 3 were rated EF3. And there were also 4 tornadoes of unknown intensity. There were no EF4 or EF5 tornadoes. The core tornado outbreak event was about 16 hours long. The strongest was an EF3 tornado in Fort Pierce, Florida. 6 deaths and more than 30 injuries were related to this event, mostly due to the 2 EF3 tornadoes, the Lakewood Park Vero Beach tornado and the Wellington tornado. This became the largest single day of tornadoes in state history, surpassing Hurricane Irma, becoming Florida's 5th deadliest outbreak in 70 years. The total damage from this event was $681.8 million US in 2024.
So there was a summary of all the tornadoes that happened during Hurricane Milton as the hours went by on the day of October 9th, 2024. We wanted to do something a little bit different with the tornado case study for Hurricane Milton compared to what we normally do. If you're familiar with our case study, kind of layout and how we go through everything, because we just did a full case study on Hurricane Milton. If you want to check that out, it'll pop up in one of these corners and also be linked in the description box. In that video, we go into more depth about how Hurricane Milton came to be, and the path that it took, the intensity, and a lot more of the damage it caused. From the hurricane side of things, not the tornado side.
And we wanted to approach this one a little bit differently than our traditional tornado case studies because this was a full-on outbreak and we didn't concentrate on just one. We wanted to focus on the whole event.
Yeah, the sheer number of not only tornado warnings, but actual tornadoes, the amount of rotating storms that caused many tornadoes as the rain bands crossed Florida was a type of outbreak that does not happen very often with these tropical tornado outbreaks, with Milton setting quite a few records.
So one of the most impressive things to me was the number of warnings, like you were saying.
Yeah.
126 warnings were issued by the 3 Weather Service offices in a 16-hour span, roughly. Of that, 45 tornadoes were actually on the ground, separate tornado events.
Right.
And it's just incredible. In fact, we had some tornado warnings actually roll through areas where we used to live a long time ago, as well as we did have a cruise that we drove down to Miami the day afterwards, and we did see tornado damage along I-95 around the Vero Beach and Fort Pierce areas. So an incredible event, how this all came to pass. It just boggles my mind.
Yeah, and the most amount of EF3 tornadoes ever recorded since we've been keeping records for tropical cyclone related tornadoes. So there you have it, the Milton 2024 tornado outbreak. Again, if you like what you saw, be sure to leave a like, subscribe down below so you never miss the next one. If you haven't already, check out our website, meteorotechweather.com. And if you're not following us on Facebook and Instagram, go ahead, it's a fun time over there. And until next time, I'm Kayla.
And I'm Jim.
Thanks for watching.
And we'll see you at the next Meteorology Monday.